Do you like money? Of course you do. Well, what do you think of spending some money to get even more money? Or what do you think of spending a lot of money for a chance to get a collectible digital midget? While millions of other people would take me up on that second offer. Hundreds of millions of people, actually. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the magnificent, random number generated, cripplingly addictive world of gacha games. A story of capitalism, conspiracies, and even an assassination attempt. Good afternoon, your nation. Thank you all for joining me today, but before we continue our story, we must ask the crucial question of what is gacha, why is gacha, and who is gacha. Gachapon, or gacha as his friends like to call him, is an onomatopoeia from the sweet sound of cranking the handles of the multitudes of toy capsule machines around Japan.
Which one do we get?
Sowing the seeds of gambling addiction in the little ones, myself included. These machines required petty change to be activated. Twisting the handle would drop a ball into your hands containing a mystery prize from an array of possible rewards. Most times they were collectible figurines from trademark franchises, sometimes they'd be an original array of cute toys, and if you were using an unlicensed gacha machine outside of Japan, you'd probably get the counterfeit cousins of the bigger franchise with the less fortunate genetics. TLDR, give money, get ball, open ball, brain happy or brain sad depending on what reward you get. It's basically a Kinder Egg with a much wider variety. The concept of gacha in recent years has developed to become more than just a legal way for kids to be surrounded by balls that can fit in the palm of their hands. It's 2021 and whether you like it or not, gacha is probably the biggest trend in the gaming industry. In 2020, mobile gaming... What?
Do you guys not have phones? Yeah.
I know many gamers don't consider mobile gamers as gamers, but in 2020, mobile gaming alone has made at least $100.8 billion. That's 9 zeros. And gacha games played no small part in that, with many of these games raking in billions on their own. If anyone's gonna pull a Scrooge McDuck, you're gonna bet it's gonna be a gacha game developer. Oh? Wait, I didn't explain what a gacha game is? Oh, where do I start? Being an almost entirely mobile genre, gacha games, just like the mystery balls, are just that. Games which include a random prize waiting for you, but just like the mystery balls, you can only get it if you got the cash to put out. How exactly do you put a cheap minigame of chance into a full-fledged game, you might be wondering? Well, the American healthcare system has your answer. Lock it behind the paywall and charge 500% the price. You see, most of these games are free to play and access, unlike your traditional games where you pay to even own a copy of it. Unlike other mobile games, gacha games do not have ads that make you question the average IQ of the human race, while simultaneously making you think you're the wise King Solomon. With no ads and being free to play, gacha mechanics are the only thing keeping these games alive. Okay, real quick, a game has X amount of characters. Each character has a different rarity. Typically there's commons, rares, super rares, legendary, super ultra fucking rares, and rarer than seeing your dad after he goes out to grab a pack of cigarettes. Basically, they keep coming out with these new words just to get you to keep buying. Each rarity has its own probability or pull chance, with the highest ones often being in the single digits and some even in decimal points. Now let's say you absolutely want that one legendary character. Maybe you like their design or maybe their abilities seem interesting. The game tells you to use the premium in-game currency to buy boxes because there's a chance your desired character could be in that box. You finish up your premium currency buying boxes, but you didn't get the character you adore. You're out of currency to buy boxes, although you can just play the game and save up the currency over time. Nobody's got time for that because you're probably busy juggling 4 other gacha games at the same time. So you're offered the option to spend real life money, real world money here on in-game currency, in turn giving you more chances to unlock or pull for your waifu or husbando. I am really not a fan of both of those words, and you repeat this cycle on and on until you get your desired character or until cardboard becomes your most affordable food choice. And that's how gacha works, all while providing you some original, adrenaline-pumping, heart-racing, exciting gameplay. Yeah, Goku, beat Frieza's ass in Candy Crush, then I'll teach him, bust his balls.
Grab his dick and twist it! Oh my god!
I'm not actually kidding here. A lot of big money makers in this industry are just Candy Crush style games. Now, unlike the common downloadable content you see in fully fledged video games, gacha is not a one-time payment, unless of course you're Chaishen, the Chinese god of fortune and good luck. You're probably not gonna see your waifu or husbando before your bank freezes your account. Now your desire might keep you coming back. Some people want one character, some people want to collect them all, but like the aforementioned DLCs, add-ons in fully priced games are nothing new. But where gacha is the main man in a porno shoot, loot boxes are the poor saps who have to clean up after all the shit. Now, loot boxes, as we all know, mainly appear in games developed in the West. They work exactly like gacha, except for 2 things. 1, most loot box games are fully priced games you need to buy to play, while there are also free ones of course. And 2, where gacha locks content and utilities, loot boxes are mostly cosmetic and do not affect gameplay. Of course, there are exceptions to this. For example, Hearthstone, a game where you can receive game-changing and game-winning cards just through the use of money and luck. And notoriously, Star Wars Battlefront 2, where loot boxes had items that were practically performance-enhancing drugs for your characters, making games that do this to be considered as pay-to-win. A much hated term in modern gaming. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, loot boxes don't sound that bad, right? They're mostly cosmetics and they don't affect gameplay, so you can practically choose to ignore them and have the same experience. Well, look at you being smart, you bing bong. While you can call both of these game mechanics the epitome of capitalism creeping into your daily lives without you noticing, loot boxes tend to get a whole lot more shit compared to gacha, with some government cracking down on loot boxes basically every other week. Meanwhile, ever since a major legal debacle in 2012 that basically saw the restructuring of how gacha works in Japan's gaming industry, gacha hasn't really had much legal problems since then. In fact, a player who sued a game developer for their gacha mechanics even lost the case. Loot boxes must be looking in envy right now. Gacha does tend to have more insane stories of someone spending half their salary on these games compared to loot boxes though. But then again, it might just be an issue of coverage, in light of which these games are highly regulated in Asian markets such as China, Japan, and Korea, which also happen to be their main target market, where spending capabilities for those youths under 18 is highly limited. And if you're over 18, the fuck cares man, it's your life, do what you want. Many countries have called loot boxes and gacha basically gambling, comparing the special currency to gambling chips and the game's frequent rewards like a casino's offering deals, plus the whole, addiction part. With Australia soon planning to make loot boxes inaccessible for those under 18, just like with actual gambling. Other countries such as China and South Korea have required games to publicly disclose the chances of pulling rewards from each rarity. The gacha craze has undoubtedly taken its toll on society to a point where even governments are made to take notice, from driving someone to the verge of bankruptcy to even driving someone to the verge of committing murder. In April 2021, MiHoYo, the developers of Honkai Impact, a waifu collection-style game with 35 million downloads and grossing over $730 million, planned the release for the game's anniversary celebration event, which included alternate bunny girl costumes for their characters. A fan, outraged by this, flew to Shanghai, snuck into the developer's office building, and armed with a knife, was wanting to take out his scorn on the company's founders. Fortunately, the fan was apprehended while sneaking into the building and the anniversary event was cancelled due to this. But why did he do it? What would drive a man to such fanaticism to want to commit murder? Going back to the assassination attempt, here's one crucial fact I left out. The Bunny Girl costumes for Honkai Impact's anniversary celebration were only made available to players outside of China due to the country's boner for anti-boner inducing censorship laws. Thus, players in China were cucked into letting the rest of the world enjoy their waifus in scantily clad bunny suits. I think you can start to see where this is going. Chinese players were outraged by this, calling it unjust and disrespectful towards both the players and the characters. No clear motive was given out to the press about the assassination attempt, possibly to maintain MiHoYo's PR image or possibly not to create more controversy. But other players online speculated that the suspect behind the attempt was scorned and hurt that his beloved waifu would live out a bunny girl life in the phones of millions of other people around the world, except his. Now keep in mind that this is theorizing and it's highly anecdotal. In fact, this whole segment of why we love gacha is because there's no clear-cut research out there on why we enjoy gacha games. And just like an anti-vaxxer, I did my own research. Now you may have noticed by now that the main appeal of gacha games isn't really the gameplay. But let's talk about the real reason you're here, the multitudes of characters in gacha games. Yes, Timmy, what the fuck do you want now? But what about the games with no characters? Or if I don't like the game for the characters? That's actually a good question, Timmy. But we'll talk about that later. For now, let's stick to the characters. Now, from what I've gathered, there's 4 main factors of appeal to characters. The first and the simplest, let's get this out of the way, is the appeal of the physical design, the cuteness, the sweetness, and of course the appeal of... We're talking thighs, ass, bulges, badonkas. No matter what your preference, these games all got something for you. Tall girls, small girls, girls as battleship, cat girls, cat boys, horse girls, milfs, dilfs, and traps, whatever those are. Anyways, check out this cute and sexy pink-haired maiden. Woo-wee! Though this may sound unlikely to some people, sex has always been known to sell. I even had a friend tell me he got into a gacha game and started sinking in money just cause he was down bad for a character. Many gacha games have a mostly female cast of characters for obvious reasons, and some even having an entirely female cast. And when you look at a game like Destiny Child, where the female characters have flesh and skin with the solidity of water balloons, it gets hard to debate the sex appeal part. But we're not here to debate morals or motives, and now that we've recognized that this is one of the 4 factors, let's move on to the next one. Now, as we covered really early on, many gacha games are based on existing IPs or franchises, mostly anime, a genre that saw a huge boom in audience recently, but also a genre in which every important character is already uniquely identifiable by their design alone. So you could say that games by existing IPs are just an extension of interest and more content for the franchise's fans to consume. Thus, the success of Fate Grand Order based on the Fate series or DBZ Dokkan Battle based on Dragon D's Balls, haha, got him. Games also frequently have crossover events with other franchises or IPs in a mutually beneficial way to attract fans of the other franchise to try out the game, creating a possible flow of interest. This is even more impactful when the franchise has a limited or scarcity of self-produced content and you only ever see it in collabs and crossovers for years on end. And while not exactly a franchise, the choice of voice actors for your game can also draw interest to games the same way crossovers and collaborations do. You see, in Japan, voice actors are treated like actual celebrities, unlike Western animation that can't even be asked to credit the voice actor of an iconic cartoon character, Big Chungus. Thus, by having a popular voice actor in your game, you could draw interest towards your game, and even more, if your voice actor voices a collectible character, it could increase the player's desire to want to get that character simply because of the choice of voice actor. While some of the top grossing gacha games are based on existing IPs, it's astounding that original IPs can hold a candle and even stand up to that achievement. Games such as Arknights and Grand Blue Fantasy swim in oceans of bread, and they're entirely original franchises. But the biggest one yet, you can't deny the impact of Genshin. Genshin Impact. A gacha game introduced in September of 2020, by August 2021, barely a year, has already achieved $1.4 billion in total revenue in less than a year. There's of course many things that contributed to Genshin's success, the first of which is everyone being held hostage inside their own homes by microscopic tennis balls floating in the air and simply just wanted something to do. Then there's the fact that its developer is already famous from previous games, yep, the same developer that escaped a knife-wielding fan. Also having the most unique gameplay for a gacha game, albeit controversial for plagiarism, but hey, no publicity is bad publicity, right? Though I must say that Genshin's ultimate weapon is you. Specifically, your ability to form personal attachments to the game, and boy is Genshin making it easy to love that game. Having gameplay reminiscent of traditional AAA open-world games, the setting of the game itself and the many NPCs breathe a unique air of personality. But the true captivator of your heart, soul, and maybe genitals is the 40 collectible characters. Like talked about earlier, these guys hit all the right marks when it comes to design. Oh, and one standout factor is that Genshin's characters are really popular with girls too. What's my source for this? Well, basically it's my friends on social media posting thirst traps for these characters. So we got a sizable amount of panty wetters here too. Yet the key to the heart is more than just looks alone. Compared to other gachas, 40 characters after 1 year pales in comparison to games that release close to 100 characters a year. While Genshin doesn't have a small island's nation worth of characters, it has just enough, allowing the game to take their time and focus more on character traits, personalities, and stories, a more quality over quantity kind of approach. Other than the idiosyncratic voice lines and bits of story here and there, Genshin grants you a catharsis for feeling attached to a character, with many characters having their own quest lines where you can experience their personalities firsthand, learn their backstory, and even see them develop. Sometimes specific characters have interactions with one another, meaning double the catharsis if you like both of those characters. And the more you play with a character on your team, the more your friendship level with them increases, and boom, you're rewarded with more content on that character. You can literally hang out with a handful of these characters that have their own hangout events, replayable quests where the outcome depends on your choices, which also means you get more content by replaying it and seeing how the character reacts to different choices. Boom, even more catharsis. A close friend of mine and Genshin aficionado likens some hangout events to basically feel like dating sims. Not only does Genshin reward you for caring about their characters, but god do they make it easy to love a pile of pixels. So I thought about it and I realized a small to medium-sized cast of characters, each uniquely designed and having their own fleshed out stories, is nothing new to gaming. Where games in the past had you play as a nobody or just a single hero with minimal side character involvement, modern games individualize each character and make them unique. You know why? Because when you're presented with a cast of fleshed out characters who interact with each other, chances are you'll probably find at the very least 2 characters who you enjoy and can vibe with. By extension of that, the more characters you care about, the more likely you are to care about the franchise and become a fan to the franchise. I couldn't find a name for this, so I'm just calling it the ensemble effect, because an ensemble means a cast. I mean, think about it, out of the 8 trillion Pokemons, even the shitty garbage ones, there's probably someone out there calling each of these Pokemons their favorite. Those inglorious bastards of evolution. With more characters to care about, there exists more motivation to keep playing the game, to enjoy and experience more of that character. Getting that little bit of emotional euphoria when you unlock a new outfit, hear a new voice line, or pull off some insane gameplay because it makes your character feel all that much cooler. So we've seen how visual design and unique character-derived emotional euphoria can hook you into desiring more of these characters, and by extension of that, they keep you playing the game. But as in reality, too much euphoria can be addictive. This part of the topic we're getting into is psychological in nature, therefore it's not 100% objective data, and obviously it does not represent everyone. A parasocial relationship is a one-sided relationship where one party extends time, energy, interest into another party or persona, where the other party or persona is not even aware of their existence. These parasocial interactions happen via forms of media, but in your brain, psychologically, they feel like actual human interactions. I'm gonna call these parasocial relationships PRs for short. And while the internet consistently pokes fun at K-pop fans for standing Jungkook and for TikTok users vehemently supporting their creators, the fact is anyone that consumes media has a parasocial relationship. Books, TV, video games, movies, even newspapers can form PRs. Just everyone on their own varying degrees. And just like everything else in psychology, PRs work the same way, as in everybody handles them on different degrees of intensity. Or in this case, should I say, different degrees of devotions. While many of us recognize that celebrities and characters are just that, doing their job just to entertain us, some people may take their PRs a bit more seriously. Excessive allocation of assets, obsessiveness, and even physical stalking are not unheard of in celebrity culture, even more exacerbated today by internet media. Fictional characters are also the subject of PRs. Think Harry Potter, Twilight, My Little Pony, and almost every anime where fans exude heavy emotional attachment to it. Just like with normal PRs, fictional character PRs also have varying levels of intensity, from simply collecting memorabilia to writing fanfictions and this new trend on TikTok called shifting, with huge air quotes here, where you transport yourself to your favorite fictional world. What if I wanted to shift to the world of Doom? Is hell fictional? Is Mars fictional? Intense PRs with fictional characters can be worrisome, basically because your waifu isn't real. So where do you express and manifest all those emotions? In the research essay, Against All Odds, Desire and Monetization in Japanese Mobile Games by Gawain, Lucian, and MACKENZIE, it is alluded to that a character's desirability is not only because of their utility, but also for the parasocial relationship they share with a player. This is nothing new, this is basically what we talked about earlier. But here's the interesting part. They also suggest that Gacha's greatest trick is the fact that unlike other forms of gambling, they personify the odds, making your success at pulling a desired character representative of that character's opinion towards you. Gacha communities traditionally refer to the acquisition of a desired character as them coming home, where the character has acknowledged the player's desire and realized where they belong. Therefore, the player who does not pull their desired character must keep spending, because worse than being unlucky in gambling, they have been proven to be unlucky in love, dealing a heavy blow to the player's esteem, making them think their character doesn't love them as much as they do. And this might sound outlandish to many of us who play simply for entertainment, but when you start to think back to the knife-wielding fan, this can start to seem all too possible. It's easy to take advantage of a parasocial relationship, and the ease of it scales with the intensity of the PR. The same thing I lauded earlier on how games make you feel connected to a character can also be a point of criticism, where some games make characters excessively flirty and subservient to you, knowing full well they're appealing to your emotions. So it brings up the debate, is the game wrong for creating these unique and highly attractive characters, or is the obsessive player wrong for letting this get the better of them? That's for you to decide. Whew. And that's it for the character aspect. We're almost done here, but while we're on the topic of psychology, when I asked many people, they brought up the sunk cost fallacy, which basically means, hey, I've invested this much, why not go all in? Like if the average to get a super rare is 15 boxes and you've already opened 9, why not just go all in? You're already halfway there anyways. And like what little Timmy asked earlier, what about gacha games with no characters, or the characters aren't distinctive enough for you to want to feel like collecting them? Then in that case, maybe you just enjoy the gameplay. Whether it's because of the mechanics, or you want to get the achievement of collecting them all, or you just want to dominate other characters in PvP. Or maybe you enjoy the social and community aspect of gaming, playing with your friends, playing against your friends, or just being part of an online community. Or maybe now more than ever, you just want a quick, easily accessible escape from the world around us, just to have fun and de-stress. I mean, that's why gaming has always been so beloved, isn't it? Modern entertainment is just full of testing your luck. From trading cards to TV shows, we're human, and testing your luck for the off chance that you may strike big has always been fun for us. Whether it's gacha or gambling, the first big step is always that first roll or that first purchase, and it's easy to get carried away from there because there's something for everyone to enjoy out there. You don't need a reason to play a game, and if you love it, go for it. Just don't go broke while doing it, and take care of yourself while you do. This has been Urination.